Hi, welcome to the Gamesplainer. I'm Jeff the Gamesplainer, and today I'm gamesplaining Cafe. Cafe is a 2 to 4 player game that came out this year, 2021. It's quite easy and quite light and just sits on the table and goes, but there's a heck of a lot of thinking. Because what you're doing in essence is you're getting a card which has 6 possible squares on it, and you're laying that card down to cover up at least 2, if not 3 or 4, of the squares already in your setup. So you're losing some stuff to gain some other stuff. And making those decisions as to what's worthwhile gaining, what's worthwhile losing is really important. There's then a range of things. So you get beans or coffee beans of different colors, depending on what cards you have down. You turn those coffee beans, or you harvest those coffee beans. You then roast those coffee beans, and then you sell those coffee beans to the cafes. And the cafes have certain colors that they want coming in. You also have a warehouse, so anything that can't go to a cafe goes to you. But here's the thing, each of those movements costs some time. And so at the beginning of the game, you only have one thing you can do, because it's judged by how many coffee cups you have pictured in your symbols that you can use. So each time you gain one of those coffee cups, which by the way does cost you to gain those ones, but each time you gain a coffee cup, you're getting an extra action that you can do. So it's worthwhile trying to not cover them up if at all possible. Now, while I said those coffee cups cost you, unless you have 2 symbols of boats, if you've got 2 of them, then the coffee cup cards, the cards that have a coffee cup on them, won't cost you a thing. And so you find that you're getting the boats, so you can get the coffee cups easier further into the game. And then you're trying to get items that are the same next to each other. Because if you, say, harvest a field, every symbol of the harvesting that's next to each other will harvest. So if you've got one, you could harvest all of the green beans that are around your board. If you have 2 next to each other, you could take the green and the red. If you have 3, you could take green, red. And as you can see, you can pull in a whole bunch more. And so what I found is if you're able to find a way to manipulate your board, so you've got 3 or 4 of that action, the B action they call it, and then 3 or 4 of the C action, which is the grinding, turning the beans into coffee, then you're able to get a really quick pass through of all of the stuff. If you can get your fields of beans that are growing stuff all next to each other, you can grow all of the colors. And there's this whole, take everything of that color from the A's that's all over your board over to the B's. Everything of that color that's on a B goes to the C. Everything of that color that's on a C goes to a D. And all of the Ds are assumed to be next to each other. So that's the actual cafes and your warehouse. And so you may find that you've got 4 brown beans to go out, or brown cubes to go out. You only need 3. So you can put 2 over there and 1 over there, and then 1 into your own warehouse. That's a really interesting, deep, thinky element of this game. This game isn't much on the table. There's not a whole bunch going on, but man, there's a lot of thinking. When you put the cards onto your personal setup, your tableau, you must cover at least 2 spots, if not 3 or 4 spots. But you must cover at least 2. And some of the spots are blank and saying, it's kind of, oh yeah, fill this up. I dare you. And that's really what it's saying. I dare you to fill this up, because quite often next to that will be a coffee cup, or would be a picture of the boat. And as soon as you cover that up, it reduces the amount of stuff you can do. Or it's a picture of a bean, and that's not too bad. You can cover them up. What you're trying to realistically do is just get a really large area of beans, so that when you do that planting, you can grow all of the beans to be able to then harvest and etc. all the way up. You get into trouble if you cover up the last B or C area, because you must go through A to B to C to D. Plant them, to harvest them, to turn them into coffee, roast them, I think they call it, and then sell to the cafe. There's just, a lot of thinking going on with this game. There, on top of that, within the game, there's what they call expansion stuff. It's a few extra little symbols. So one is a D for a cafe where you can put a cube, and then at the end of the game, if you need to get cubes onto something that you haven't quite got enough of, you can take a cube off that and put it onto an area that's going to get you scored, and you can call it any color that you like at that point. So that's a really good thing to do. There's a bag of beans so this is an A, and if you produce on that, you can produce any color bean on that. So it can kind of get you out of jail if you don't have a green, for example. You can produce green there. Little elements like that are available to us. There's one that it's a double bean. So when you produce, you're producing 2 cubes of that color on that particular square. And there's another one which gives you extra points if you place it next to a cafe that is scoring. And all these things are worth thinking about, are worth just kind of getting your head around and kind of understanding, because the manipulation of your tableau is really what it comes down to. How well can you manipulate that to have to do as little in terms of number of things you do to get the most out of it, which is realistically about just put the B's and C's next to each other as much as you can. Now, that sounds really easy, but when you're playing, it becomes tough. You'll notice in my game display, I think that I managed to get 4 of one of them, the symbols next to each other, but only 2 of the other. So I had to kind of do the B and get 2 of the colors onto that, then do the C and get 2 of them to move on, and then do the B and the C again to get all 4 colors into that C level of stuff. I feel like I've seen this game before. I haven't played this game before, and it is a new game, but the concept of it feels very familiar to me. I'm not sure why. It might just be that it sounds really similar to other games that I haven't played either, just by and by. But there's something about this game, it actually feels a bit older than it is, because it is a new game. It came out this year. I've seen coffee games come through before. I actually think this one's a better one than the ones I've seen before, to be honest with you. But there it is. Look, I think I'll leave it there. If you have any comments or suggestions, please write them below. If you have any games that you would like to be Gamesplained, please shoot me an email to thegamesplainer@gmail.com. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter @thegamesplainer to keep up to date with the games that I'm playing. Subscribe to my videos to keep up to date with the games that I'm gamesplaining. And until next time, enjoy gaming.